This was one of the greatest international windows of all time. So let's just waste no time and get into this. We start with CONCACAF because this was absolute peak. Going into the last match day, Group A saw Suriname having a slight advantage over Panama through goals scored, while Guatemala and El Salvador were on the outside looking in. Both would have to win their first game of the window to stay alive. El Salvador did not understand that assignment whatsoever though, as they were pummeled 4-0 by Suriname. Guatemala, on the other hand, did incredibly to fight back from a 2-0 deficit versus Panama, but in the end, they were just no match for arguably the best team outside the top 3 CONCACAF nations. Group B was cooking something special thanks to Curaçao's stunning upset versus Jamaica last window. The Reggae boys still had the advantage in the group, but in classic Jamaica fashion, they fumbled that group lead after conceding a late equalizer to Trinidad. Curaçao, on the other hand, destroyed Bermuda, meaning they would take the qualification spot going into the final day. Group C saw Honduras top of the group after holding Costa Rica to a draw, and then dethroning Haiti after beating them 2-0. With 1 win and 3 draws was Costa Rica just behind them, while Haiti sat a point below those two. Meanwhile, 1 point Nicaragua was hypothetically still in the fight for a playoff spot, but that's just not gonna. Holy shit, they beat Honduras. And it gets even wilder because Haiti produced a resilient upset versus Costa Rica, which sees them just 1 point from an automatic qualification spot. Now into the final day, and no qualification or runners-up spot locked in, here is quite literally everything that could happen. In Group A, Suriname simply just need to beat Guatemala to qualify. For Panama to qualify though, they need to beat El Salvador and see Suriname draw or lose. Or if Suriname win, Panama has to find a way to better their goal difference. In Group B, Curaçao versus Jamaica sets up an incredible finale. Because of Jamaica's choke job, Curaçao just need a win or draw to make the dream come true, while Jamaica have to win, so they'll be thanking their lucky stars that this one's at home. In Group C, 3 teams are still alive. Honduras qualify if they beat Costa Rica. That's the easiest way for them. Haiti can qualify if they can beat Nicaragua, but they need to see a draw between Honduras and Costa Rica. In order for Costa Rica to qualify, they need to beat Honduras, and then the rest of their fate is in the hands of Nicaragua. So yeah, this shit ain't happening. But let's not forget that runners-up position from each group, because of the 3 teams currently sitting second, only the best 2 will advance to the intercontinental playoffs. Right now, that would be Jamaica and Panama, while Haiti just miss out. But anything can change with a single goal. And so, on the night of November 18th with Zealand and Beaufort Lancer, I watched what I can only describe as absolute cinema. By the way, if you're a real OG and have been watching since the career mode days, you probably remember that time I beefed with Beaufort Lancer, which makes this even funnier. Anyways, the final day kicked off as you'd expect it to, with the fight between Hondurans and Costa Ricans within the first 5 minutes. These 2 teams were about to get a whole lot less happier though, as Haiti quickly found the back of the net versus Nicaragua with just 9 minutes played. With that goal, Haiti have jumped into the qualification spot while Honduras fall to second. And things just keep getting worse for Honduras, because after Panama take an early lead versus El Salvador, that now means if results stand, Panama qualify, Suriname are in the intercontinental playoffs, and Honduras would be eliminated entirely as the worst runners-up team. 18 minutes now, Jamaica needing that win find themselves on the break but are denied by the post. 23 minutes played, Honduras seeking that goal to send them to the World Cup nearly score it. Fast forward to almost the end of the first half, Haiti double their lead. The Haitians are doing everything right tonight, but still have to hope Honduras doesn't score. But luckily for them, Keylor Navas is carrying the dreams of 2 nations on his back. Over in Panama, a penalty sees them take a 2-0 lead versus El Salvador, and that would be the end of the first half. Here's how things stand so far. Panama would qualify out of Group A, as there has still been nothing from Suriname's game versus Guatemala. In Group B, Curaçao would book a ticket to the big dance, as they are currently putting up an incredible defensive shift versus Jamaica. In Group C, Haiti would qualify thanks to their commanding 2-0 lead, and Honduras failing to score versus one of the worst Costa Rican sides in recent time. And finally, in the runners-up table, it would be Jamaica and Suriname advancing to the intercontinental playoffs. Into the second half now, and Guatemala draw first blood versus Suriname. Fortunately for the Dutch C team though, they still remain as one of the top 2 best runners-ups. But if Honduras manage to score a goal, they'll be in danger of elimination. Things are about to shake up even more in the runners-up table though. Into the 53rd minute, a Jamaican long throw and is met by a towering header, but again the ball hits the post. 57 minutes played now, and Suriname concede again. This is not how they wanted the night to go, but they are still in the playoff spot. They do need to make sure they don't concede anymore, because they are only a above Honduras because of goals scored now. But what do you know? Suriname are just straight up collapsing at this point. Just 8 minutes later, Guatemala dunks on them yet again. And with this demoralizing result, Suriname have gone from top of Group A all the way down to flat out elimination. All the while Honduras have done nothing. Almost 20 minutes remaining now. Jamaica still searching for that breakthrough, but it appears the football gods are playing a cruel joke on them at this point. Fast forward to the 85th minute now, and Panama sealed the deal with a third goal and returned to the World Cup for the first time since 2018. Meanwhile in Kingston, desperation is in full force for Jamaica as they lob one up into the box. It's a great setup right in front of the goal, but it hits the post for a third time. Into stoppage time in Guatemala now. Suriname has to score to keep their qualification hopes alive, and they do just that thanks to some help from an opposing defender. And as it stands now, Suriname are once more amongst the best two runners-up nations because of goals scored, meaning Honduras need to actually do something or else they're eliminated. What are they up to right now, by the way?
De todo, Marcelo Santos, y se arma la cámara húngara.
Big news in Kingston though. No, it is not another ball hitting the woodwork. It's Jamaica being awarded a penalty with 1 minute of stoppage time remaining. Ah, wait, never mind. The defender got the ball.
Oh my God.
And with that, Curacao has officially qualified for the World Cup for the first time in their history. They also become the smallest nation to ever qualify with a population of just a little over 150,000. To put that into perspective, India has 9,733 times the population and can't even find one player who can help them beat Bangladesh. But I'm not done there, because with the draw between Costa Rica and Honduras, that also means Haiti has officially qualified for the World Cup. It'll be their first time in the big dance since 1974, and the way they pulled it off is nothing but incredible. Because the national team achieved this feat without playing a single game in Haiti due to political unrest. And now the country can cherish this moment. A rare moment of unity that hopefully leads to more into next year. And finally, while they did lose out on an automatic qualification spot, Suriname's dream remained alive after snatching away Honduras' ambitions right at the death. They will have another shot to qualify to the World Cup through the Intercontinental Playoffs, which will take place in March. Jamaica also joins them, but spirits there are pretty much the polar opposite. After the match versus Curacao, head coach Steve McLaren announced his resignation with an already pre-written letter. No wonder why Jamaica fumbled, man. Their own manager didn't believe in them. On to European qualifiers, where this round comes to an end finally. Group A at the beginning of the window saw the top two of Germany and Slovakia tied on points. Germany started the window with a 2-0 win versus Luxembourg thanks to the most Australian looking man again.
What are you talking about?
While Slovakia found a last-minute winner off a corner versus Northern Ireland. The Germans and Slovakians then played each other to determine who would qualify for 2026. And this shit wasn't even close. Need not worry though, Slovakia, as you still have a chance through the playoffs in March, as does Northern Ireland through the Nations League. Group B has been a big stunner for most people, as both teams most people believed were sure candidates for the playoffs have been god-awful. But this has opened the door for Kosovo to sit in second with a comfortable 4-point gap. The only team that was able to reach them now was Slovenia, but they were quickly put to bed with some absolutely elegant football.
Twisting, turning, and firing into the far corner! It is a dream start for Kosovo!
And then later in the match, a Slovenian defender decided to put his nation out of its misery.
What are you doing?
Hmm?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Meanwhile, Switzerland bullied Sweden again, and then played out a draw with Kosovo, which was more than enough points for the Swiss to qualify for the World Cup for the 6th straight time. On the other hand, Kosovo advances to the playoffs, as does Sweden, because of the Nations League. Someone please send a nuke at this competition. Group C had just Scotland and Denmark left alive. Both were tied on points going into November, which could potentially set up an incredible finale as the two would play each other later in the window. But first, to begin the month, Denmark had a game versus Belarus, and Scotland had an away day in Greece. And the Danes could only settle for a draw, which was a massive blow to their qualification hopes, is what I'd say if their opponent was literally anyone besides Scotland, who fell 3-0 down to Greece by the hour mark. Scotland responded though, pulling two back back in just 5 minutes, but this was just the illusion of hope. Because then, Greek keeper Vlachodimos decided he hates the Scottish and turns into prime Neuer. So going into the top of the table clash finale now, all the Danes had to do to qualify was get a draw, while Scotland had to win at all costs. In translation, Denmark had officially booked a ticket because the Scots have never been able to perform under pressure.
The tricks and McTominay.
But don't forget that this team is the arbiter of my suffering. Disappointment is not only inevitable, it's a lifestyle for them. But then, 77 minutes played, a Scotland corner delivery is flinged across the box, and Lawrence Shankland is on the end of it. What a way to get your first World Cup qualifier goal, as this goal might just take Scotland to the promised land. Not even 4 minutes later though, Scotland struggled to clear a delivery and concede. Fuck me, man. However, this is unlike any Scottish side I have ever seen. They just will not stop fighting. This is it, Scotland. End the decades of suffering. Rewrite history. Right here. Right fucking now.
Here's Michelin. He's going to shoot. Is that going in? That's unbelievable! I have never seen anything quite as incredible and dramatic as Kenny McLean!
Scotland, the other half of me, I will not be elaborating on that point, are returning to the World Cup for the first time since 1998. I cannot wait to get pissed drunk with a bunch of Scots next summer. Going into November with Group D, France was almost certain to qualify, and that quickly became confirmed after they destroyed Ukraine 4-0. This also allowed Iceland to overtake for second thanks to goal difference after they picked up a win to start the window. So we had another match that would decide a position. Iceland versus Ukraine for the playoff spot. And in the end, it would be Ukraine who would prevail with 2 late goals. Group E was pretty much settled like 2 months ago. Spain qualified after a 2-2 draw with Turkey in their last game of the window, while Turkey will once more fight for their lives in the playoffs thanks to a 2-0 win versus Bulgaria and Georgia's catastrophic collapse. The Georgians going into this window needed 6 points to even have a chance to keep their hopes alive. They failed right off the bat, losing to Spain, which, fair enough, it's Spain, but then they lost to a Bulgarian side that hadn't won since last year. Group F was all but Portugal's for the taking going into November. In their first match of the window though, an Irish side that badly needed a perfect window had other ideas and slayed the Portuguese 2-0 thanks to a Troy Parrott brace. Now while one number 7 was scoring, the other was elbowing players in the back? Ronaldo was given a red for this, which means he could actually miss Portugal's first World Cup match. But don't worry, literally everyone else besides the Portuguese. CR7's been talking to Donald Trump about that. And some other matters, if you will. Anyways, Hungary earned a narrow win versus Armenia, and after Portugal absolutely demoralized the Armenians to qualify for the World Cup, that meant only the playoff spot remained, and the winner between Hungary and Ireland would claim it. 3 minutes played, Hungary waste no time and take the lead in front of the home crowd. But they quickly shoot themselves in the foot, giving away a penalty, and Ireland equalize in the 14th minute. Now, Hungary back on the attack in the 37th. Varga takes it on the chest, lets it bounce once, and oh my lord. Ireland refused to die though, and once again it's the man of the hour Troy Parrott finding the equalizer in the 80th minute. As it stands though, Hungary would still be the ones to advance, but here come Ireland at the deck.
Scales is up after it. Scales wins the header. There's a chance. Yeah!
And so, thanks to Troy Parrott's 5 goals in this window, and also his first 5 goals of the World Cup qualification campaign for Ireland, the Irish achieve what many, including their most loyal, thought near impossible. And once more, it is the history of the Hungry. Entering November, the Netherlands held the qualification spot in Group G, with Poland sitting runners-up 3 points behind them. Finland was also still alive, but they could only overtake Poland if they somehow made up an 11-goal differential in a single match. In that one single match though, they lost to Malta. so none of this mattered anyways. Back to the battle for the top, the Netherlands and Poland started this window with a 1-1 draw with each other. This pretty much was the end for Poland, as the Netherlands then capped off their campaign with a 4-0 win versus Lithuania to officially qualify for the World Cup. But Polish people, it's okay, because you'll just have to fight through the playoffs for like the 800th time. Group H was real close. Austria was just holding on to the top spot after they picked up their first loss of the campaign versus Romania last window, while Bosnia and Romania were looking to run away with the spot and a berth into World Cup 2026. But before any of that could happen, second and third place would play each other to start this window. Romania quickly went up 1-0, but then reverted back to being Romania, and Bosnia scored 3 unanswered to get a massive win that confirms them at least the playoffs. While Romania not only disappoint their own people, ignore the fact that they've made it through the Nations League, they disappoint the entire globe, because they have destroyed any hopes of San Marino making it to the playoffs now. Austria deleted Cyprus's tiny bit of hope for the playoffs to begin their window, so it all came down to a finale between Austria and Bosnia to see who would book a ticket to the World Cup next year. Bosnia knew only a win would see them qualify, so they wasted no time grabbing a goal early on. However, the Austrians were not about to see their best opportunity to return slip, as Michael Gregorich scores the equalizer and writes his name amongst greats like Matthias Sindelar, as Austria are back in the World Cup for the first time since 1998. Going into this window, Norway was very close to securing Group I, and after a 4-1 win versus Estonia, they all but confirmed a return to the big dance. However, the Italians believed otherwise going into their last match versus Norway. Because the Azzurri would have to beat the Norwegians 9-0 to automatically qualify, they started complaining. Oh, why is it goal difference when it should be head-to-head? It seems pretty unfair if we beat them 4-0 and still don't qualify. Have you ever noticed that CONMEBOL has 100% of their teams qualify for the World Cup every year? Very interesting. I'm just saying, man, you should have no right to speak this way when you can't even score against Moldova for the first 80 minutes. Before the game, though, Holland was asked at a press conference about Inter striker Pio Esposito. Why was he asked this question? Because Italian media is so fucking stupid, okay? I don't know, man. To which he responded, I don't know much about him, to be honest. Maybe the media will come after me for saying this, but if you play for Italy, you have to have quality, and if you play for Inter, you must have it too. That's how it is. With how Italian media just blew this out of proportion, Esposito definitely heard this and responded on the pitch by giving the Italians the lead in the 11th minute. So you know what, fair enough to him. Unfortunately for Italy though, their defense is still anti-Italian, and then Gianluca Mancini ruined everything entirely by being a sex pest. So once again, Norway destroyed the Italians and officially returned to the World Cup for the first time since 1998. Group J last month saw Belgium finally overtake North Macedonia, not because of their own doing, but because of Kazakhstan. But I guess we're underestimating Kazakhstan, because they too would draw with the Belgians. Or maybe Belgium's just shit, either one works to be honest. Not that this really affected Belgium's chances, because their only other game was Liechtenstein, and after a 7-0 win, the Belgians have officially qualified for their 4th straight World Cup. The Welsh also beat Liechtenstein, which put them level on points with North Macedonia, whose only game of the window was against Wales. Both teams were assured playoffs, but with the winner of this fixture being granted a favorable seeding in the playoffs, we would still see the best from each country. What the fuck? England had already qualified out of Group K, so it all came down to the runners-up spots. Albania had a 1-point cushion between them and their friendly neighbor Serbia, so you'd think this playoff spot would be decided like the other groups, right? Absolutely not. Because Serbia still had to play England, who they ended up losing to. So all Albania needed to do was beat Andorra. And that task is honestly easier than getting out of bed. So this will be the first time Albania ever makes it to the playoffs, but I'm gonna be real, I don't really think they care that much about that. They just care about the fact that they eliminated Serbia. And finally, Group L. Croatia began the window with a 3-1 win versus the Faroe Islands, which sees them qualify for the World Cup with flying colors. This result also eliminated the Faroe Islands, meaning Czechia would take on the last playoff spot. Quickly before we move on to the next confederation, let's briefly look at all the teams that will be moving on to the playoffs. Out of Group A, Slovakia finished runners-up while Northern Ireland earned a berth through the Nations League. Group B, we see Kosovo move on as runners-up while Sweden escaped the group having finished bottom with just 2 points. In Group C, Denmark advanced as runners-up. Group D, Ukraine narrowly edged out Iceland for a playoff spot. Group E, Turkey were basically banished to the playoffs after matchday 1. Group F, Ireland's spectacular window is rewarded with a place in the playoffs. Group G, Poland loves the playoffs. They get to do that again, I guess. Group H, Bosnia finished runners-up while Romania get a ticket through the Nations League. Group I, lol. Lamau. Group J, Wales finished runners-up, and North Macedonia move on through the Nations League. Group K, Albania finished runners-up. And finally in Group L, Czechia finished runners-up. The playoff round is upon us here in African qualifiers. 4 teams remain and only one will stand tall and move on to the Intercontinental Playoffs when this is all over. Quickly though, here's how the round works. We have the semi-final matchups of Gabon vs Nigeria and Cameroon vs DR Congo. And these ties are only one leg. Winners of each semi though will move on to the final, and whoever prevails there will move on to the Intercontinental Playoffs. Going into this round, Gabon, who have never made a World Cup appearance, had the best chance in the country's history. They had an excellent qualification campaign and were going up against an extremely underwhelming Nigerian side that just snuck into this round. Gabon, it is finally time to write in a new chapter in your story.
Alright, so 3, 2, 1, and scammer gets scammed, buddy. That's what you get.
On to the other match, DR Congo vs Cameroon. One was hoping to make it 2 consecutive World Cup appearances, while the other was hoping to return for the first time since they were known as Zaire. In a pretty gritty match though, both teams saw their biggest chances come within minutes of each other in the second half. DR Congo's attempt was stopped in its tracks by the keeper, while Brian Mbeumo was able to free himself of the defense, but missed from point blank. But then, in stoppage time, DR Congo find the winner off a corner thanks to their captain Chancellor Mbemba in his 100th cap for the Leopards. So it all came down to Nigeria vs DR Congo. You could only imagine what warfare was going on social media before this game. The match began with Nigeria immediately on the offensive, and they draw first blood just 3 minutes in. However, the Congolese were not about to see another opportunity slip as they find an equalizer in the 32nd minute. Then came the biggest bombshell of the match. At halftime, Nigeria's Victor Osimhen was forced off due to an injury he had been playing through for the last 30 minutes. And just like that, Nigeria lose the one guy who carried this whole sorry excuse for a national team to this round in the first place. So with the attack now looking less threatening than a puppy, the Nigerian team retreated to parking the bus pretty much throughout the rest of the game. And ironically enough, this was one of the best defensive displays I've seen from Nigeria in probably 5 years. But since nothing could separate the two nations, the Intercontinental Playoff spot would be determined by a penalty shootout. Players have dreamed of a moment like this, a moment to lead their country to a World Cup. Now was the opportunity for someone to be a hero.
Y'all take it easy, I'm out.
It took until the 4th kick for someone to convert, but DR Congo won't care as they take an early advantage. Needing to make sure this doesn't get out of reach though, Nigeria finally converted on their 3rd attempt. Their keeper then saves DR Congo's penalty, and Onyemaichi returns the favor on Nigeria's 4th attempt. DR Congo quickly make it 2-all on their 4th attempt thanks to Fiston Maele. Nigeria then make it 3-2 with their final attempt. So now it all came down to debutant Michel Balikwisha to keep DR Congo's dreams alive. And he places that shit in the corner as if he's played 100 times for this country. Sudden death now. Nigeria take the first pen and it's saved. Now all DR Congo have to do is convert this penalty and they will advance to the Intercontinental Playoffs. And up steps the hero of the semis, Chancellor Mbemba.
Needing to keep his bottle here. And Mbemba stepping up. He's won it.
Now with Africa out of the way, DR Congo will hope to be one of the 2 nations to qualify for the World Cup through the Intercontinental Playoffs in March. For Nigeria though, after yet another disappointing campaign despite all the individual talent, this will be the 2nd straight World Cup they miss out on. For this failure, the Federation tweeted an apology to the fans and also the president for some reason.
Yes, my favourite football player who has no idea about my existence just scored. I'm going to invest all my time and energy into a random fucking football club. I'm all about it. I'm actually going to Easter match.
Also, this isn't African football unless some kind of fuck shit happens. After the penalty shootout, Nigeria's head coach Eric Shell was ready to fight someone from the Congolese coaching staff. Why did he do that? I'll let Eric speak for himself.
Eric, coming towards the end of the game, I could see that you were a bit frustrated with maybe some of the DR Congo staff members. Could you give us an update on what happened there?
During all the penalty decision, a guy of Congo did some voodoo.
I love African football. Into Asia, where we have entered the 800th chance round for the remaining 2 nations. The UAE are hoping to end decades of pain to return to the World Cup for the first time since 1980, while Iraq will hope to do to George Bush what Vito Corleone did to Don Ciccio on his return to Sicily. This round is very simple, two-legged tie, and the winner advances to the Intercontinental Playoffs. The first leg took place in Abu Dhabi, and it would be Iraq silencing the crowd just 10 minutes in. However, the new citizenship merchants acted quick and responded just 8 minutes later. From there, Iraq had a couple very good chances to extend the lead, but kept squandering them. And they nearly paid the price for it as the UAE was a whisker away from heading home a second. Into the second leg in Basra, the Iraqis once again almost threw away the game, but somehow the UAE didn't capitalize. However, the luck finally ran out when at the beginning of the second half, the UAE run straight through Iraq's midfield and take a 2-1 lead on aggregate. But the Iraqis would not take long to return the favor with a brilliantly executed set piece. And with that goal, momentum starts to shift towards Iraq again. 83 minutes played, Iraq part the seas on the break, and it's just the keeper to beat, but the touch is way too heavy. Into the 5th minute is stoppage time now. An Iraqi winger squares it to an open forward, but he skies it over the bar. Now into the 10th minute of stoppage time. This is the last chance in regulation for Iraq, and the ball hits an Emirati player's hand in the box. Penalty to Iraq, and manager Graham Arnold can't even bear to watch. But it's Amir Al-Amari who steps up, and he sends Iraq to the Intercontinental Playoffs. Let's quickly go over all of the countries that have officially qualified for the World Cup, because there are plenty more to add here. Japan became the first non-host nation to qualify on March 20th, 2025. Followed by them was New Zealand on March 24th, 2025. Then you had Iran and Argentina on March 25th, 2025. Into June, Uzbekistan, South Korea, and Jordan all qualified on June 5th. 5 days later, Australia joined them. And on the same day as the Aussies' 6th straight berth, both Brazil and Ecuador qualified. Then on September 4th, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Colombia all qualified through the remaining automatic spots. 1 day later, Morocco qualified as the first African nation. Tunisia joined them on September 8th. Then in October, we had a bunch qualify from Africa. It all began on the 8th with Egypt, which were followed by Algeria the very next day. Ghana qualified 3 days later on the 12th. Cape Verde made history just 1 day later. And then on the 14th, this round of African qualifiers ended with South Africa, Ivory Coast, and Senegal all booking a ticket. On the same day, Asia saw 2 more representatives in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, while England became the first European nation to qualify for 2026. Then in November, we saw a wave of new entrants. France became the second European team to qualify on the 13th. Croatia followed them a day later. On the 16th, Portugal and Norway booked a ticket to the big dance. 2 more from Europe, and Germany and the Netherlands qualified a day later. Then on the last match day of the November window, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland, Spain, and Scotland all qualified out of UEFA. And then later in the day, CONCACAF provided us 3 nations in Panama and newcomers Haiti and Curacao. All these guys joined the host of the US, Mexico, and Canada. So with all these new entrants, this now leaves just 6 spots up for grabs. And all these remaining spots will be determined by the playoffs come March. But before we can even think about that, we have the World Cup group draws on December 5th. And just like 2022, I will be streaming my reaction to it all on my Twitch. So be sure to follow my Twitch. And so that is one of the greatest international windows in quite some time. Let me ask you guys this question. Has your team qualified? Did your team potentially choke? Are you Honduran? Are you Jamaican? Are you okay? Perhaps if you're Italian, if that's the case. But of course, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, German Sayu 7, Jeremiah Owusu Ajimang, Django, Anazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Kantra Gatra, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Cheesebait, Winder Gel, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Porter Geyser, Wise Orange, Polar Protos, Von Fan, The Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Leakstab, Mutanai, Apollo, Thrilling ADT13, Los Milos, LeJames Braun, Vecino, Napsai, Money Cash Hose, Quantavious Pork, Lilia Lover, Stewed Monk, Red Yellow, Fuxi, MX Sand, Harry McGuire's Left Toenail, Blaquito, Thierry's Thoughts, Kev C, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Al-Tanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member on the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow me on Twitch because, once again, World Cup draws December 5th, you're not going to want to miss that. I will also do a highlights video for it, but I think it's even more fun when you're there live. But until then, wait, actually, not until then, Italy video essay on Saturday, remember that as well. But until then, I'll see you guys.